Don't you worry, the clip's about to begin, but don't forget to subscribe. Or else, don't make me turn this website around.
All right, so we've got Rebus back on the line. Hi, Rebus. Before you kick off, I want to be clear, we weren't able to get your screener, your pronouns from the screener, so could you just let us know what your pronouns are and then ask us your question?
Sure. Just use he and just use he. It's okay. He and him.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So how can we help you?
So yeah, I'll go quick this time before the internet just decide to drop me again. Can you hear me clearly this time?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So my question is this: from last call on the atheist experience, somebody was asking. How can they tell if somebody's lying to them if they say they're trans or not? Like personally, I don't really care. I just buy people's word because I don't think they have any reason to lie to me. But make me thinking, how do I know I am not lying to myself?
Ooh.
That's
good question.
It's like, yeah. So I'm putting it this way. When I think I feel like a woman or a girl, how do I know I actually feel like a girl or I just feel what I think girls supposed to feel like? Like, how do I know what actually girls supposed to think like if I never actually being, I have been never, I didn't born as a girl. I don't know how they think. I just think that's how they think because that's what society told me. Those type of thinking belong to girls. I just feel, am I just being a sexist bigot instead of just, like I'm a man and I shouldn't think this way. If I think this way, I must be a girl. Like that doesn't make me that makes me feel very uncomfortable every time I think about it.
Yeah. I think just before we kind of go off on this, I think it's important to note that is an incredibly common experience amongst the trans community. Whether you're trans, feminine, non-binary, or whether you're a binary trans woman, that experience is so super common because you're right. It's not exactly easy to know if what you're feeling is coming from, your internal sense of self, or if it is reflective of maybe of some sexist cultural values that you might implicitly be believing from, the culture you were raised in. Mm-hmm. But with that said, I think it's also important to remember, kind of carrying off of the last conversation a little bit, is that also all of this stuff is socially constructed, and there's really not a way that it feels to be a woman. That's a way we communicate a concept, but it's not something that actually exists. If you feel like you're trans, there's a good chance you're probably trans. But I understand the fear, and sometimes when you make that declaration, there's a lot of stuff that comes with that, like the prospect of medical transition or social transition. So I think if it helps, it might be easier to break it down into those steps rather than thinking about the philosophical question of whether or not I actually feel like a woman. I think it's easier to break it down into, would socially transitioning and presenting as a woman make me happier? Would starting HRT or maybe even pursuing surgical intervention, would that make me feel better in my body? And if the answer to those questions is yes, then I think you probably have an answer there. But I completely understand where you're coming from, and you definitely have to handle it in your own time. How were you at on that, Katy?
I think I agree with what Arden was saying. I won't do a huge rant. I guess I would say I don't know what it feels like to feel like a woman or a man. I just feel like me. And I know that's kind of lame and dismissive, but we can't know for sure. And the way I found to approach it for myself, because I wasn't sure for a long time what I wanted to do, I just said, well, I can break it down into separate sections, which is like what Arden was saying, and for example, do I want laser hair removal on my face? Absolutely yes, doesn't matter. Like, I can be a man and do this, I can be a woman and do this, I can do whatever. But this one step I definitely want to do, and kind of break it all down like that. And I think it's also just important to tell yourself, like, you know, if you're thinking something and you're like, oh, I can't be a man because I'm thinking this, and like, then you're like, oh gosh, am I sexist? It is worth coming to terms with that little battle inside yourself. You know, to talk about it with your friends, maybe see a therapist, and like, it is whatever you're thinking or feeling, you can be a man and do that. You can be a woman and do that. Like, that is fine. But if then you're feeling like, well, actually, I just want to do this. I just want to present differently. I just want to have laser hair removal. I just, you know, want to consider HRT as an option, whatever. Then, you know, you don't necessarily have to stop being a man to do those things. But maybe when you start checking off all those boxes, then it makes more sense to consider yourself as a woman. It can just be PC. Anyway, yeah. So I basically just repeated what Arden said.
I think it's also important to remember, Rebus, that there's no time frame on this. You know, like if it takes you another 5 years to realize that you're a binary trans woman or something, that's okay. You're not late. You're
15.
Not or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're on your own time. There's no right schedule for figuring any of this out. But I definitely empathize with where you're coming from. I think for me, I was in that place for a long time. And I think eventually I kind of just realized that, like, whether or not I'm a real woman, I don't really care. That question to me is so irrelevant. I do not care about that question. It means nothing. I'm happy the way I am. And the way I am happens to, according to society, mean I'm like a woman. So, it's all of these things, like we were saying at the beginning, are socially constructed, and it doesn't really matter. Just kind of do what's going to make you feel comfortable in your body. And if that leads you in the direction of transitioning, then great. And if not, then that's also okay.
Yeah.
It's going to take time.
Yeah, thank you. That helps. I think there is just something, it's kind of a mental block for me. It's like I'm about 6 feet tall, and I'm like 200 pounds, and I practice martial arts, so I'm quite muscular. This body I have, I can work out very proudly if I'm a man. You know, I myself will feel like very comfortable being like this. I identified as a man. I work out like this, I will feel confident. You know, I know people like me because they, you know, but if I just woke up one day and boom, my dick is gone, and now I have a vagina. And at the same time, if I still have this same body, I work out, I wouldn't be as confident. You know, because I'm thinking it doesn't fit the thing I think what a woman should be. And every time I think about that sentence, what a woman should be, I feel I'm sexist. Because there are women muscular and tall, and they're still women. But like Absolutely. My mind, I don't know how can, I just don't know. Like if I want to be a woman, I want to be smaller. I want to have different structure. You know, I don't want this really, really wide shoulder and all those things I like for being a man. I don't like them if I'm a woman. The really thing is I'm not bothered by being a man. I just really want to be a woman, but I'm not. Okay, let's see a metaphor. It's like I want a Tesla, but somebody gives me a very good Honda. It's like it's not what I want, but I don't think I can complain about it. It's just very confusing.
It's a good metaphor. It is very confusing. It's an absolute fucking ordeal to work out for yourself. I guess one comment I would have on like what a woman should be and what a man should be. It sounds like you have this situation where you've got like your rational understanding of it, thinks one thing, and maybe your emotional thing thinks the other way or whatever. It probably is worth just, you know, I still struggle with this sometimes. I myself am 6 foot tall as well. And I'm also, I don't know what it is in pounds. Hang on, let me look it up. I was actually recently, whatever you said in pounds.
I'm 90 kilograms. I'm 90
kilograms. So I was 90. I was 90 kilograms about 6 months ago, and I'm now 80 kilograms, which is 176 pounds. So I was a similar, I'm
Wow.
tall and, well, you know, tall people are heavy.
Cannot tell at all. Like,
but I'm not particularly muscular.
yeah. Like
I think
I look
that
in
is
the mirror
worth.
and I look at myself. I was like, yeah, that's sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I was just going to say, I think it's worth just looking at, like, reminding ourselves that, you know, there are women who are strong and muscular and tall, and they're great exactly how they are, and there's nothing wrong with them at all. And it's kind of society making this bullshit pressure that there is. This idea that women have to be small is bullshit. And I can say that, and intellectually I know that, but I still wish I was smaller. Like, I wouldn't pick to be 6 foot tall. And it does sometimes cause me pain. And I think that partially this is baked in irrational bullshit about what women should be. And partially it's gender dysphoria, and it's just not going to be rational because it is some innate part of me. And that's just, in the end, I had to make the decision, would I rather be a 6 foot 80 kilogram man or a 6 foot 80 kilogram woman? And they're my only choices. Actually, I was a bit heavier when before I came out. But like, you know, HRT changes your body, you can lose weight, or put it on. Yeah. There's lots of, there is differences. So yeah, and also I think as well, this also comes into, like,
yeah.
Sorry.
I was just saying I have lost like 75 pounds. I used to be almost 300, and so I am trying to get smaller as well, just for the very reason I just, you know, I wish I'm smaller, but I cannot change my height. At least I can control my weight. So
yeah,
I cannot change my muscle though. Like my muscle is like chisel. It's very hard. It sounds like I'm describing my tender profile, but it's just like I don't like myself being this muscular, and I don't know how to get away from them. You know, it's like I'm.
Well, HRT like definitely destroys that. So
I was gonna say, I'm not trying to convert you, convince you to transition, but HRT does change your muscular and fat distribution a lot, like a lot. So just that's something you can think about. You know, if you're like, I want my muscular and fat redistribution to change, that's something you can think about. And I think it's maybe a tick in the box of, if you've been thinking you want to be a woman for a long time, I think that's something to consider, that's another factor. And if you're not a woman, if you're like a trans femme non-binary person, that's also a possibility for you. And like, maybe that's where you fall. Like, you know, there's lots of options out there. You don't have to be like trapped in how you are now.
Yeah, I guess I learned a new word the last time when I called in, and some chat told me there is something called gender fluent. I think maybe I'm more close to that, because sometimes I do like being a man, and there's certain clothes I like my wide structure that I can put on some coat and looks handsome, you know. So sometimes I do feel like, hey, it's not too bad being a man, but deep in my mind, or if I'm dreaming or something, I always dream I'm the girl. And also if I'm playing games or any conversation that if people don't know my identity, I would want them treat me like a woman. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think I can get an answer in 2 weeks or something, but I think I do have a angle to think now. So thank you for that.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Right. Well, I just it might take months, so just keep thinking. Anyway, it was great. It'd be good to move on. Anyway, thank you for calling in, and maybe we'll talk to you in the future.
Of course, thank you. I will always follow this. Yeah. Bye.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for checking out this clip for The Line. While you're here, hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and then share this with that bitter uncle of yours who loves talking about the good old days.